Welcome to the deep dive. Sometimes, maybe not often, but sometimes you just run into an idea or maybe a way of thinking
Hmm.
that really, it just makes you stop and reconsider things you thought you knew, how the world works, or maybe more like how we work.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently stumbled across some, well, insights, I guess, that have genuinely shifted how I think about learning, like
Yeah.
really learning new stuff, new skills.
Okay.
And the effect, honestly, it's been pretty huge. My mind feels, I don't know, opened up. Like it's this whole other way, a
Mm.
better way to actually absorb knowledge and make it stick, make
Hmm.
it useful.
Yeah, I know exactly that feeling, that kind of aha moment where things just click differently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I couldn't wait to sort of unpack it all with you. Expert, I know you felt something similar with this material, right?
Yeah,
Especially coming from that source we've both found pretty valuable.
absolutely. That feeling you're describing, that shift in perspective, it really resonated. And yeah, the source for this particular deep dive is a space called Awaken Your Potential. It's a place we found, consistently offers these really compelling ideas for growth, mindfulness, building resilience. They've got this great community really focused on transformation, guiding people towards breakthroughs with like actual practical tools and great discussions.
Yeah, very practical.
And we were both really grabbed by this one video. It's part 3 of a series called Study 3x Faster, Stop Wasting Time and Learn Smarter.
Okay.
And its mission is so clear and so needed, I think. It's about moving past just passively taking stuff in what they call passive learning,
hmm
and instead embracing things like active recall, deliberate practice, and this idea of progressive challenge, the whole point, to turn information that just washes over you into skills that actually last.
Okay, let's definitely unpack this then, because it honestly forces you to rethink your whole approach to learning.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't matter if it's, learning something complex for work or picking up guitar or just trying to get better at something.
Yeah, anything, really.
This isn't just studying like back in school. It feels bigger, like transforming how you actually acquire knowledge and grow, period, in everything you do. So maybe the best place to start is with this trap, this illusion, really, that I think we all fall into sometimes.
Passive learning.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It feels so productive, right? You're sitting there maybe highlighting a book or rereading your notes, listening super carefully to a lecture, maybe binging educational YouTube videos.
hmm Feels like you're doing the work.
Totally, like you're just soaking it all up, absorbing it. But the video, they just cut straight through that with this analogy that really hit me. Reading about swimming won't teach you to swim. You have to get in the water.
That's such a perfect analogy. So simple, but so true.
Right. And when you hear it like that, it's like, well, obviously. It highlights this huge gap, this chasm between just being exposed to information and actually mastering something.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how often we've read about swimming in our own lives. We read articles about managing money, but never actually make a budget. Or watch coding tutorials.
Exactly. Watch coding tutorials, but never write a single line of actual code. Listen to talks on public speaking, but avoid giving presentations like the plague.
Right. We trick ourselves into thinking knowing about something is the same as knowing how to do it.
Precisely. We think, I know this because we've seen the information, but then when the moment comes to actually apply it, we can't. And this applies everywhere, learning Spanish, playing piano, thinking critically, even just getting better at communication.
Any skill.
Any skill.
Yeah.
Without actually doing it, without that deliberate practice getting in the water, basically the knowledge just stays abstract. It's like having a massive library where you never actually crack open a book.
Or a file saved somewhere you can actually open or use.
Yeah. And it's not just abstract, it's fragile. It disappears so easily once you step away from the source material. It's the massive difference between being a spectator in your own learning and being an active participant.
And what's so great about how they frame it is showing that real mastery isn't just about consuming stuff. It's about transformation through actually engaging with it. You absolutely have to do something with the information to make it yours. And to get why that active part is so critical, they use another really good analogy, one that connects right into the neuroscience. Think of your brain like a muscle.
Right, we've all heard that phrase.
Yeah, but they dig into the science behind it. When you first learn something new or try a new skill, you make these initial connections between neurons, but they're like really fragile pathways at first. Think of like a tiny little path someone just walked through tall grass once.
Okay.
barely there. Exactly. Which is why just listening to one lecture or skimming something once or, that classic all-night cram session,
Hmm.
it just doesn't lead to lasting memory. Those connections, those little threads, they just break or fade away super quickly. But, and this is the crucial part, when you practice consistently, deliberately, you're not just making those connections, you're strengthening them. Every time you actively recall a fact or apply an idea or perform the skill, you're doing what they call a mental rep.
A mental rep. I like that.
Yeah, you're firing those same neurons again and again, making that pathway stronger, clearer, and importantly, you're building up something called myelin.
Okay, myelin. What's that exactly?
Think of it like the rubber insulation around an electrical wire. It's this fatty stuff that wraps around the connections, the axons between your neurons.
Ah, okay.
And the more myelin you build up through practice, the faster and more efficiently the electrical signals travel down that pathway. It's not just about speed, though. It makes the skill more automatic, more fluent. It frees up your conscious brain.
So you're not thinking about every little step.
Exactly. Like a great musician playing a complex piece without consciously thinking about every single note, or an athlete whose moves are just second nature. That's myelin at work, built up through thousands of those mental reps.
Wow. So practice literally changes the physical structure of your brain.
It absolutely does. That's neuroplasticity, the brain changing itself. And they really stress that it's this consistent, spaced repetition, doing it regularly over time, not cramming it all in at once, that truly builds expertise.
Right.
You can't go to the gym once for 12 hours and expect to be super strong, right?
Yeah.
You need regular workouts, time for recovery and building. It's the same for your brain. Lasting knowledge and skill come from that steady, repeated effort, targeted workouts for your brain. That's the science of real practice.
That breakdown is fantastic. It makes so much sense physiologically. So if our brain is built to work like that, strengthening pathways over time, it means consistent effort isn't just about discipline. It's about working with our brain's design.
Exactly, leveraging how it naturally works.
And that leads straight into another huge point they make, one that kind of pushes back against how a lot of us think we should learn. It's consistency, not intensity. That's the real key.
Yes, this is so important.
They use another great analogy here, the flywheel. One of those huge heavy metal wheels.
Massive things.
Getting it moving from a dead stop takes this enormous push.
Right.
It's incredibly hard at first, but once it's finally turning, even a little bit,
It gets easier.
right? Each little push you give it, after that, adds more and more momentum. It starts spinning faster, easier, and becomes this really powerful, almost unstoppable force.
Love that analogy.
And it's such a direct challenge to that idea that we need to go all in, dedicate a whole weekend to learning something, pull frantic all-nighter.
It's a heroic effort approach.
Yeah, which almost always just leads to burnout, right? You
Yeah.
get exhausted, frustrated, and then you just completely drop it. All that effort wasted, progress lost.
Happens all the time. It's totally unsustainable, like
Yeah.
trying to get fit by only exercising intensely once a month.
Exactly. So the video's advice is actually really liberating, I think. It's simple. Focus on short, regular sprints. They suggest maybe 25 minutes a day, or even just 15 minutes, but doing it consistently. And they argue, really convincingly, that this approach blows those rare, guilt-fueled marathon cram sessions out of the water.
Absolutely. It's far more effective.
And the reason is that daily or really frequent practice keeps those neural pathways firing. It stops that forgetting curve, how quickly we lose new info if we don't reinforce it. It prevents that from taking hold.
Keeps the connections active.
Yeah, it just aligns perfectly with how our brains actually consolidate memories, spaced repetition, consistent activation. When you make practice just a normal part of your routine, like brushing your teeth,
Non-negotiable.
right, those small pushes keep that learning flywheel spinning. It builds this incredible momentum over time. Those tiny efforts, they seem small day to day, but they compound massively into real skill, real mastery. It's not about finding huge blocks of time. It's about using small bits of time, smartly, consistently.
Yeah, you're building a habit.
You're building a learning habit, day by day. That's the real foundation for learning that lasts a lifetime. It's being the tortoise, not the hare.
And if we connect that to the bigger picture, it really underscores that building a learning habit means weaving it into the fabric of your day, making it automatic almost.
Right.
It's about seeing that huge long-term payoff from those tiny, consistent inputs. That 15-minute session might feel insignificant today.
Yeah, like what can I really do in 15 minutes?
Exactly. But multiply that by 365 days. Suddenly you've racked up over 90 hours of focused learning time. That consistency stops the knowledge from decaying and builds mastery through sheer repetition and strengthening those pathways.
It shifts how you see it.
Completely. It goes from this massive, daunting task to just a series of small, manageable, even rewarding steps. It gives your brain the time it needs to actually consolidate the information, strengthen the right connections, prune the weak ones. You move from consciously struggling with something to just doing it effortlessly.
Like the dancing example you mentioned.
Precisely. It's that idea of aggregation of marginal gains, small improvements, consistently applied, lead to huge results over time. Works for everything: fitness, saving money, learning.
Okay, so we get the why. Active over passive. Consistency over intensity. Now let's dig into the how. Because the video gives us these really practical tools, techniques you can literally start using, like today.
Yeah, this is where it gets really actionable.
The first one is called Stopwatch reading. And I love this because it's just so straightforward. Anyone who reads anything can use it immediately.
Super simple setup.
Right, here's how it works. You set a timer, just 10 minutes. For those 10 minutes, your only job is to read with absolute focus. Like laser focus, no phone notifications, no email tabs open, no mind wandering off, just you and the text.
Total concentration.
Then the moment that timer goes off, you close the book.
Yeah.
Or shut the article. And then this is the absolute key part. You grab a pen and paper or open a blank document and you write a quick summary of what you just read. Purely from memory, no peeking.
That recall part is crucial.
It's everything. The power comes from what psychologists call active recall. And just to be clear, active recall isn't just rereading or looking over your notes. It's the deliberate effort of pulling information out of your own brain without any prompts.
Forcing retrieval.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like giving yourself a little pop quiz after every 10 minutes. And that simple act, forcing yourself to retrieve it, strengthens those neural connections way, way more than just passively rereading ever could.
It makes the memory stronger.
Definitely. And it instantly shows you what you actually understood, and maybe more importantly, what you didn't. Where are the gaps? You get immediate feedback. You know right away if you were just scanning the words or if you genuinely got it.
No hiding from what you don't know.
None. And the practical upsides are huge. It fights procrastination, because who can't face just 10 minutes, right?
Much less daunting than an hour.
Way less.
Okay.
It keeps you super engaged. It turns reading from potentially passive and boring into this active mental workout. And I found it really eye-opening when they talked about how it's not just about learning the content better. It's actually training your brain to learn better. You're building the skill of focused learning itself, becoming a more efficient processor of information.
Yeah.
It's not about speed reading. It's about deep reading.
That's such a key distinction. And if you think about the deeper effects, what's happening underneath, each 10-minute focused burst is like a targeted workout for your attention span.
Right, building focus muscle.
Exactly. Over time, you're literally training your brain to concentrate longer, fight distractions better, absorb information more deeply. And that spills over into everything, not just studying.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And like you said, active recall is gold because it shines a bright light on those knowledge gaps. It might feel a bit uncomfortable at first, like, oh, I didn't retain that.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's good. That feedback tells you exactly what you need to revisit. So your review becomes targeted and efficient. You build stronger, more connected memories. And interestingly, you often find you start reading faster naturally. Not by skimming, but because you're so focused, you understand it better the first time, so you need fewer rereads. Your efficiency goes up.
Okay. Let's backtracking.
Precisely. Plus, it builds confidence. Instead of facing a huge book feeling overwhelmed, you conquer it in these manageable 10-minute wins. Each successful recall proves to you, hey, I can learn this. It makes you a more capable, motivated learner, turning a big task into small, rewarding victories.
Small wins. Love it.
And that idea of breaking things down leads perfectly into the second technique they cover, progressive difficulty. This one is also super intuitive, especially if you think about physical training like lifting weights.
Right. You don't start with the heaviest weight.
Never. You'd injure yourself or just fail completely. You start light, build strength, then gradually add more weight as you get stronger. Progressive overload.
Makes sense.
It's the exact same principle for learning anything complex. You start with the absolute basics, the foundational stuff. Only then, once you've got that down, do you systematically move on to harder concepts or skills.
So avoiding jumping into the deep end immediately.
Exactly. It's the perfect antidote to feeling overwhelmed, which is probably the #1 reason people quit learning something new.
Yeah, I can see that.
When you start with challenges you can actually handle, you succeed. Those early successes build your competence, but also your confidence. It creates this positive upward spiral.
Instead of a downward spiral of frustration.
Precisely. They use the analogy of building a staircase, not trying to scale a sheer cliff.
Okay, nice visual.
You master one step, make sure it's solid before you try to climb to the next one. So, like if you wanted to learn data science, you wouldn't jump straight into complex machine learning algorithms, right? You'd make sure you really understand basic stats, probability first, get that foundation solid.
Right, or learning an instrument, you start with scales or simple chords.
Exactly. Basic greetings and sentence structure in a language before trying complex grammar or slang. Each step builds firmly on the last. You fill in gaps as you go, making sure the whole structure is stable and interconnected. It really encourages patience and steady growth.
Yeah.
And it makes you ask that question. How often do we just rush ahead? We get excited about the advanced stuff and skip the basics.
Only to get completely lost and frustrated.
Yeah. And then we quit, thinking, oh, I'm just not cut out for this. Progressive difficulty stops that from happening. It makes the journey itself rewarding, not just the end goal. You're building skills layer by careful layer, ensuring they actually stick because they're built on solid ground. It respects how our brains build understanding.
That is such a critical point. They really hit home when they said, starting too hard just leads to stress and frustration. It's so true, isn't it?
Absolutely. We think more challenge always equals more progress.
But if it's too much challenge, it just paralyzes you. It doesn't motivate. It makes you want to run away. So what progressive difficulty does so well is keep you in that sweet spot. What psychologists call the zone of proximal development.
Right. Vygotsky's idea.
Yeah. It's not just jargon. It's that place where learning is actually most effective. The task is challenging enough to be interesting, to make you stretch a bit.
But not so hard that you just feel lost or stupid.
Right. Not so where it leads to total frustration or makes you shut down.
Yeah.
It's where you're constantly reaching just a little beyond what you can already do easily. That's where the real cognitive growth happens. Building new connections without totally overloading your brain.
Stretching, but not snapping.
Exactly. And here's another brilliant part of this. Those small successes. Mastering one little step on that staircase. Each time that happens, your brain releases a little bit of dopamine.
Ah, the reward chemical.
Exactly. It feels good. It makes learning feel genuinely rewarding, enjoyable. It reinforces the behavior. So instead of dreading practice,
You actually start looking forward to that little feeling of accomplishment.
yeah, it turns it from something you have to do into something you kind of want to do. Intrinsic motivation kicks in.
That's powerful.
And then inevitably, you're going to hit a tough patch, right? Learning isn't always smooth sailing.
Definitely not.
But because you've already banked all those previous small wins, that foundation of success gives you the mental toughness, the confidence to push through the hard part. You're not starting from scratch with every difficulty.
You have proof you can succeed.
Exactly. You draw on those past victories. And this changes everything. Obstacles become interesting puzzles to figure out, not insurmountable roadblocks that make you want to give up. It builds resilience and, dare I say, even joy into the learning process, making it something you can stick with for the long haul.
So we've talked a lot about the principles, the why, and these great techniques, the how. But there's a final, absolutely essential piece. Actually doing it. The video really emphasizes this. Theory is great, understanding is crucial, but real learning, the kind that actually changes you, only happens when you try it yourself.
Right. Back to the swimming analogy. You can analyze the perfect stroke forever, but until you get in the water and try.
You're not a swimmer. I completely agree with their call to action here.
Me too.
Yeah.
So this week, here's a genuine challenge for everyone listening. Pick one, just one of these techniques, either stopwatch reading or progressive difficulty.
Just commit to trying one.
Exactly. And don't make it a huge commitment. Just experiment with it for, say, 15 or 20 minutes. If you pick stopwatch reading, do the 10-minute focus, then close the book and try that summary from memory. See what happens. If you choose progressive difficulty, think about something you want to learn. What's the absolute simplest first step? Just tackle that one small piece for 15, 20 minutes. Really own it.
The goal isn't perfection in that first try.
Not at all. The goal is awareness. Afterwards, just take a minute. Reflect. How did that feel? Were you focused? What did you actually remember? Did it feel different, maybe more effective than how you usually learn?
That reflection piece is key.
It is. It's like learning about your own learning, meta learning. It gives you insight into what works for you. Notice what clicked, what felt awkward, what you might adjust next time. Remember their mantra. Try, observe, and adjust.
Try, observe, adjust. I like that.
It's simple but powerful. One small experiment, one little shift could honestly start changing everything about how you learn and remember things. That journey begins with just trying it once. What's your first experiment going to be?
And that idea of it being a journey really leads into their final message, which I found incredibly powerful. Learning is a lifelong journey, not a finish line.
Ah, that's such a great way to put it. So true.
Isn't it? It completely reframes things. It's not about cramming for a test and then forgetting it. It's about continuous growth, discovery, becoming more capable over your entire life. And these techniques, stopwatch reading, progressive difficulty, they aren't just tricks for exams. They're fundamental tools for building your own personal learning engine. An engine that keeps running, adapting, helping you tackle new challenges throughout your life.
Building capacity.
Exactly. That consistent, focused practice is literally strengthening your mind, physically changing your brain. Every session, every mental rep is another brick in the wall. Every challenge you overcome using progressive difficulty is another layer of skill woven into what you already know.
Yeah.
You just have to trust the process. Real progress, lasting progress, comes from showing up consistently persistence, not chasing some mythical perfection.
Right. Perfectionism can be paralyzing.
Totally. There will absolutely be days when it feels hard, when you're tired, when motivation is low. We all have them. But showing up anyway, even for just those 15 minutes, that's what matters most. That keeps the flywheel spinning.
Keep the momentum.
Yeah. And celebrate the small wins along the way. Celebrate just showing up. Celebrate recalling that one thing you thought was gone. Celebrate mastering that small step. And just as importantly, forgive yourself when you stumble. Learning isn't always smooth. Just get back to it the next day.
Be kind to yourself in the process.
Absolutely. They really reinforce this core belief. The power to learn and grow is already inside everyone. You have this incredible capacity. These techniques just help you unlock it more effectively. You're not just gathering facts. You're building your engine, becoming more resilient, more powerful, a true lifelong learner. And that journey can start right now.
So when you boil it all down, what does this mean for you listening right now? It means you can take control. Active, deliberate control over your own growth.
Take the reins.
Yeah. It means becoming a more resilient learner, a more powerful learner, one step, one technique, one focus session at a time. It means shifting from just consuming information to actively mastering it. These ideas from Awaken Your Potential really struck a chord with us because they're not just abstract concepts. They're real, actionable steps you can take to change your relationship with learning, make it better, less stressful, and honestly, way more rewarding.
Hashtag, outro.
We've really only just, scratched the surface today of these amazing strategies.
Yeah.
Studying smarter, getting back your time, unlocking potential. Yeah, the insights here from Awaken Your Potential, they just feel too important not to share more widely. They really offer a path to a much more effective and frankly more enjoyable way to learn.
Totally agree.
So if you're feeling inspired by this, if you're ready to really elevate your learning game, we absolutely encourage you dive deeper into their work.
Definitely check it out.
Go watch the full series on the Awaken Your Potential channel. It really unpacks every step to, as they say, study 3 times faster. You can find them easily on YouTube. Just search Awaken Your Potential, or the direct link is youtube.com/Awaken Your Potential now. And we'll put the link to that specific playlist, the Study 3x Faster series, in the description too. It's youtube.com for PLYDPES, PAPPOJ 95SV W7FP2WPVE6YA.
We're genuinely excited about this stuff because we've felt the difference ourselves, and we think you will too.
And we would genuinely love for you to get involved with this. Don't just listen. Try it. Tell us in the comments below, which technique are you going to experiment with this week?
Yeah, let us know. Are you going to give stopwatch reading a go? Maybe transform how you read articles or books. Or are you thinking about progressive difficulty for tackling that skill you've been putting off? Share what you try, how it feels, any little breakthroughs. Building a community around this journey of growth and learning, that's really what it's all about. And of course, subscribe to Awaken Your Potential. And, stay connected with us too for more deep dives like this one to support your journey. Your commitment really does fuel ours.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Just imagine for a second the incredible compounding power of dedicating just 15 focused minutes a day, consistently, to something you genuinely want to master. Could be anything, a language, an instrument, a technical skill, understanding a complex topic. What skill, what knowledge, what area of growth will you start building today, knowing you now have these powerful practical tools to actually make it stick? The potential really is right there for the taking, and it all starts with that next small, consistent step.